Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Yes, it's Thursday, September 25th. I'm meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees here at WCNC Charlotte. Of course, we will continue to do coverage this week on Helene as we approach the one-year anniversary of when it impacted the North Carolina mountains here on Saturday. But today actually is notorious for Helene as well. Before we get into the forecast, today, September 25th, 2024, Helene did officially become a hurricane. September 26th, so 1 year ago tomorrow, it did make landfall around 11 p.m. in the Big Bend of Florida. But as we know here in the Carolinas, our big impact came on the 27th, which the 1 year anniversary is Saturday. So hard to believe that it's already been a year. Still a lot of rebuilding to be done, but a lot has already been done as the community has come together. And as we speak, of course, we know we're still tracking areas of interest in the tropics, which we're going to get to. But first, let's talk about how gross it was today in Charlotte. Temperatures even right now in the mid 80s. We have dew points in the 70s, so it still feels very sticky outside. 60s yesterday, but today 70s means it truly does feel a little bit more like we would in June, July, and August. Yesterday, as we know, we did hit the 90s, so it was the latest 90-degree day in 2025 at September 24th. As of right now, looking long range, I'm pretty confident that that was the last 90-degree day we're going to see. However, I've been confident before, and I've been wrong before, especially long-range data, of course. The latest ever 90-degree day in Charlotte was October 13th, so it can happen in the month of October. Before we get to the forecast as to what's happening now, I did want to show you a quick drought update. We get updates on this every Thursday morning, and we have seen the drought expand across most of the Carolinas as of the latest update. So what's happening right now? Well, we have an approaching low-pressure system, as we know, this area of low pressure associated with the cold front. This is the one we've been talking about for days now. We did start to see a lowering trend in overall rainfall potential. So right now, the Charlotte area has been largely dry, but I am starting to see some increasing rainfall here with some pockets of downpours, some lightning strikes as well. This one just developing here between Shelby and Kings Mountain. Yes, some heavy rain. Yes, some lightning, and even some gusty winds around 40 to 50 miles an hour. If you see rain tonight, though, you are the exception, not the rule. Light rain as well on the northern side of Cleveland County with some downpours on the northwestern side of Burke and Caldwell County. Think greater Caldwell-Burke versus lower Caldwell and Burke, and then you can see some more moderate rainfall for parts of Avery County, as well as Watauga County south of Boone. For the rest of this evening, I think this is really the worst action we're going to see. We're largely dry overnight, lots of cloud cover and areas of light rain heading into Friday morning. The heavy rain we were expecting for Friday has shifted a little bit later in the day. So notice Friday morning, still some slick spots on the roads, but it's Friday night that I think is of greater concern. Downpours abundant across the area. This will be the best chance of rain we've seen in probably weeks across the metro. So Friday night and into early Saturday. Now, who is this impacting the most? If we're being honest, it impacts most people who are out late on Friday, which I guess is technically me, even though I'll be at work, Jeb. But also people who are up and at 'em very, very early on Saturday morning. Saturday morning has the best chance to see rain that we'll see on Saturday. There are still a few sprinkles possible for the latter half of the day, but again, you can clearly see lesser rainfall Saturday afternoon and evening compared to what we'll have early in the morning. And then Sunday will probably be our driest day that we'll see for quite some time, because after that, the question marks, right, start to pop up. Here's the overall rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. We're looking at multiple inches of rain across our area, likely between 2 and 4 inches from now in this time next week. But as we take a wider view, there are higher rain chances likely for the immediate coast, for the Carolina coastline. Now, all of this has to do with what's going on in the tropics. We talked about this yesterday. Now, as of yesterday, all of our most reliable forecast models had our future tropical system, that's the area shaded in red that's got the 80-90 on the left side of your screen, all of them had that staying offshore. Over the past 24 hours, being frank, this is an opportunity for us, right, to talk more in depth about what's going on. There has been an obvious shift toward the west in the latest models. However, I want people to remember that models historically do a very, very poor job when something has not formed yet. So this is not a depression. It is not a named storm. It is not a hurricane. And until it does get a close center of circulation, it will be bad. And when I say it will be bad, I mean model data will be bad, which means the forecast tracks will be bad. And if you're wondering why, I want you to think of as if you were drawing a low pressure system on a piece of paper and you drew an X in the center of your circle. Well, what if the center was actually south of that? or west of that or east of that? Well, it would make changes in what it looks like on your piece of paper, right? And if you cut it out and you redrew the circle based on where the new X was, right, it would change the positioning. That's essentially one of the big reasons why. The low has to be where the center of the circulation has to be where the model data thinks it is. And when it has not formed, they don't know what the heck they're talking about, essentially. And so this is one of the holes, I would say, in forecast model data. That is a great tool that we use as forecasters, but again, something that we watch, and one of the reasons why we don't go crazy with one model run, right? And so when you see the doomsday models that get posted on social media or go crazy on, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, online, whatever it is, this is why we kind of have to try to bring ourselves, not only as forecasters, but back to reality in a sense. And so close center probably happens tomorrow. Hurricane hunters have been investigated in Invest 94L, which is what this investigation is known as. Likely becomes Imelda, which is our next named storm on the list. And as we talked about yesterday, this is what's going to be driving the upper level pattern here. So we have a low pressure system. This little L you see on your screen is what's associated with our cold front that's bringing us rain and storms. So this is tracked westward as well, right? Not coming as far south, which does bring a greater chance that it could pull it into the Carolinas versus Umberto being able to pull it away. So here's the latest model tracks. Notice in the near term, there's relatively good guidance, right, heading into the weekend. But look at that. Jeb, that is anywhere from Louisiana to out to sea in Bermuda. So really quick before we, of course, look at your 7-day forecast, I want to show you guys a few things. So first things first, if you are in the Charlotte area and you're watching this, right now is not the time to worry. Yes, we'll get rain. Yes, we are going to have days with clouds, but as of right now, this is just something that we are monitoring closely. But if you have friends and family who live near the coast, and that's from Florida all the way to the Carolina coast, I would have them in their ready stage, right? I would have them in their build a hurricane kit if they don't already have one, have a plan, pay attention to the forecast, especially if you have, let's say, elderly parents. I don't know, my parents are not elderly necessarily, but my grandparents are. Making sure they have their medication, documentation, things of that nature. Right now, we have about, I would say, 3 most likely tracks that could happen. And I stole this graphic, tweaked it a little bit from Tim Buckley. We showed this a few weeks ago when we were talking about most likely Carolina scenarios that impact us. So the possible track number 1, which would be probably the worst case scenario for Charlotte with the most rain and wind, would be it hits the coast hard, it moves inland, lots of wind, lots of rain, and an isolated risk for a tornado, because we would be on the bad side of the storm. If it grazes the coast, similar to what happened with Matthew back in 2016, yes, we'd have some wind and rain, but not as much of an issue. But this scenario is still on the table, folks. There is still the chance that this stays completely out to sea. Again, all scenarios remain on the table, so I want us to stay weather alert over the next few days, stay updated to the forecast, and if you see something online and the name does not look familiar, it is not a meteorologist that you trust, it is not the National Weather Service, and it's a rando, please do not share it, and please do not trust it. Get your information from a reliable source. So with that being said, again, Imelda is the next storm name on the list. This one will likely be named that storm. I typically don't like talking about storms as future XYZ because oftentimes there's 2 competing low pressure systems, with each other. But in this case, it's the only system we're tracking right now. So most likely it would be Imelda. So looking at the long range forecast, Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day, tomorrow we will see some pockets of rain and storms. Again, not too widespread, but some of that heavy rain, especially in the afternoon and evening. Saturday, your greatest rain chances early in the day, but expect a decent amount of clouds, lesser rainfall potential on Sunday. And then again, folks, early next week, our local forecast is going to largely depend on what happens with the tropical update. So stay tuned to the forecast.